Welcome to Let's Talk Jets Radio.
Hollywood.
Himself in the building, Mr. Prime Time, Mr. 35. Birthday passed by. How was your birthday, bro?
It's been better, man. Still getting over that cold. It's still been coughing all day, but feeling a little bit better. Starting to feel a little like myself. Tried to go for a little jog, only made it about 2 miles, but kind of like the Jet season. I flamed out pretty quick.
Normally how it goes, man. See all the extra interviews and stuff like that, man. It's surreal that we're not gonna be in the playoffs, man. Kind of hit the reality, kind of hit me today, and it's like, damn, bro. Like, I was so excited and so happy at the productivity that we had this year, and how far we made it, only to fizzle out. So,
just seeing the Seahawks get in the way they did, seeing Miami get in by beating us, backing in almost the exact same way on a losing streak. It's like, damn, you're right. That should have been us. This was wide open this year for us to take, and we just didn't take advantage of it.
And then watching a team like Detroit last night. What's going on, man? Romy, can't wait for that video, bro. Oh my God,
I can't wait for it. Take your time with it. I am not just to see all the highlights and
Romy, I'm gonna need some more camera. I'm gonna need some more camera action this year, Romy. You know what I'm saying? It's Hollywood. Listen, we had 10,000 now, Romy. Tighten your boy up. Come on, big homie. But
Oscar the Grouch apparently was at the game. It was a horrible experience. He was treated very badly. Can't wait to hear from Tyson and what his experience was like being out there.
I'm glad Tyson got a chance to go out there and relax, man. But it's watching a team like Detroit play last night, right? And watching them guys fight and finish strong. And it's like, damn, bro, that should have been us. We should have been playing. We should have been playing for a playoff game.
But we're not.
Random man.
Time to have a serious talk about Zach. We'll get into Zach. We'll get into Joe Douglas and his press conference today. Saleh had some interesting quotes today as well. So we'll get into all of it. I mean, where do you want to start? You want to start with the GM? I mean, he met the media.
Let's go. Let's go with the report cards. Let's go through it, man. Let's go start with GM and work our way down. Let's go.
Yeah. So starting with Douglas today, the one thing that kind of struck me is he was very emotionless. Almost, it didn't seem like he was himself. He seemed a little bit more angry than Saleh was. Saleh was still out there giving his cliches and trying to almost spin it in a positive way. The team made progress. I don't think Douglas feels the same way about how this team collapsed at the end. I think he feels this is probably a playoff roster that absolutely fell short of that. He probably feels like to a certain extent he did his job, even though we'll start breaking down some of those contracts where, there's some pretty questionable value there. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on Joe Douglas's overall job this season and his press conference today?
So his press conference, I think the same sentiment that you take. I think that he really understands that this was a playoff team, and I think that you could tell by his demeanor and his choice of words that he was not happy, and he felt that this team should have made the playoffs. So did we. I think he did. When you break it down, what he's done for this season, when he did his final 53-man roster, I wasn't sure if it was a good team or not. But I think that, to be honest with you, I think he did a wonderful job. I mean, I look back on it. This was a good roster. I think that he's going to evaluate Saleh and some changes, and I think that, I can tell you this. For me, I felt like we got a GM. And that he wasn't dodging, he wasn't ducking, and he gave an honest assessment. And I think that we all agree with him on that. As for the job he did, I'm going to give Joe D. I'm gonna give him a B plus. I'm gonna give him a B plus. I think that this roster was not as bad as everyone break it down to be. I think that this team was able to compete. I think that we had a really good chance to make the playoffs.
Can I ask you a question just real quick?
Go ahead.
Let's play a little game. What was the Jets' record on the year that Joe Douglas took over? I'm not even counting that as his offseason. The year that McCagnon had the offseason, and then Joe Douglas took over that team with Gase. Do you remember what the team's record was that year?
I think we were 6 and something. I'm not sure.
7-9.
7-9. Okay.
7-9.
Okay.
So in the 3 years after that, the Jets still have not even been better than they haven't been better than that. They matched that win total this year. They've never had a higher winning percentage than that. So when you look at other teams that are turning it around so quick, I mean, first-year head coaches this year with the Vikings, with the Giants, Dable, not his team, not his quarterback. Even some second-year coaches that are doing some good things. Like, I know I'm trying to talk about Joe Douglas right now, but it's like, damn, like, why is this taking so long?
Yeah, it's been a
Why
process.
is it always like one step forward, two steps back? Like we're inching there, baby steps, but other teams seem to do it so much faster. Is it
I,
the GM? Is it the coach? Like, I know I'm all over the place, but
no, 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 no. I mean, listen, I agree with you. I mean, but listen. I understand that, and I understand your frustration because we're watching like teams like Detroit, watching teams like Seattle, who everyone picked to be the first pick of the draft, turn around and turn this thing around. Excuse me. We're watching teams that done the same thing we've done.
Seattle just traded their franchise quarterback, and they still make the
Yep,
playoffs. The
absolutely.
Lions, that's the kind of finish that I'd be happy about. I would be so excited talking about this team right now and the season that we had if we had the finish that the Lions had. And on
And
that kind of note,
and,
that's
and,
something to be
and
excited about.
the process is this prime time. I think it comes down to coaching, and I'm not. When we get to the coaching grade, I'll go a little deeper into it. But right now, just with Joe D, just with Joe D, I understand that we haven't moved in the right direction as fast as everyone wanted us to. Because I thought we had a playoff team, and then prime time, if we would have made the playoff this year, we would have given Joe D a way better grade. That's why I'm giving him a B plus because I think that listen, the talent is there. Now, if it comes down to coaching solely, I think that was the reason that we lost 5-6 games in a row.
Well,
And
if Joe Douglas is getting a B plus, that's encompassing not just the draft, which we can give him plenty of credit for. This draft was a home run, I think, by all indications so far. But that includes free agency too. And aside from DJ Reed, this is the same conversation we've had for a number of weeks. There's really nobody else on this team that's living up to their contract. And there's
but you,
a lot of big cap numbers with Uzama, Conklin, Mosley, Tomlinson. They just restructured Mosley. I know that was initially a McCagnon deal. There's some big cap numbers from some guys that aren't living up to their contracts right now.
but let me ask you a question though. We're talking about is this a playoff roster?
With a quarterback, it probably should have been. How
Okay,
much further
so
than that they can go
but
right now?
I'm just actually overall, is this a playoff roster, prime time?
It probably
If
should have been. It
if
probably
you
should
go
have been.
if you're gonna say this is a playoff roster, then Jody has to be. You have to. Now listen, we can nibble and dab on some of the mistakes that he's made, but if you're gonna say that he gave them a playoff roster, because listen, remember when he did the 53-man cut down, right? It was a couple of calls that we did not like and didn't understand.
I'm still
But
mad about
that but as the season went on, we wasn't complaining about Ty Johnson no more. We
it.
wasn't
Yep.
complaining about Ashton Davis no more. It was certain decisions that he made that we understood after the fact. So I'm going to give him a B plus. Now, go ahead. You take the floor and tell me what grade you would give him and why.
I'd probably give him a B minus because I think the draft is the most important thing. I'm not going to excuse again. Are we grading him just on this offseason or the entirety of his tenure? Also, I mean that's
I,
another
it,
question. I
it,
mean,
it it has to be. It has to be this season right here. I mean, I think.
if we're
Listen.
just looking at this offseason, this was the kind of draft that we absolutely needed. We needed
Okay.
young foundational players to build around. So if we're looking at it just from that standpoint, yeah, checking Joe Douglas's box. But in terms of the big scheme, two biggest questions: head coach, quarterback. There still are two biggest questions.
Yeah.
We still
Yeah.
don't know about Saleh, and we still don't know about Zach Wilson or who the quarterback of this team is going to be.
Yeah.
And the rest of the pieces, like I keep mentioning about the free agents, there's a lot of contracts that aren't living up to how much money they're making. I think if you combine Uzama and Conklin, they're making about 20 million bucks. They caught about 80 balls this year, but they were still under 800 yards. They only had 5 touchdowns
I
for
mean,
$20 million. That's not enough.
Listen, that also goes to the offensive coordinator and it goes on the fact of the quarterback. I mean, that's the biggest part of it. You know what I'm saying? That's where we got to break it down at. Like, listen, I mean, the players that he put out there. I mean, now the reason you take Joe Douglas' grade down is because of the quarterback situation. You have to give him that because he's the one that made the decision. And we all thought that having someone better than Joe Flacco in would have been a whole lot better. He did not do that. He did not give us the opportunity to win. Now, when we thought that, I think everyone thought that Zach was going to make that big leap this year, which he did not. He regressed. And, not having somebody in place, I thought Mike White played white. He was serviceable, and I thought Mike White could have opportunity. But as the pressure got on, Mike White became who Mike White actually is. Now, I think if
Well, he
Joe
got
D.
hurt. He had 4 broken ribs.
But I understand that prime time. But what I'm saying is this: if someone made this point to me, he's like, "Yo, Mike White always gets hurt." You know what I'm saying? So your best ability is availability.
Even
That's
if you
something that
believed in him, you're right. You can't trust him.
yeah,
He gets hurt 2 years in a row. Absolutely.
exactly. So
If you're not bringing back Bryce
if
Petty, yeah, good.
and if Joe D would have went and got somebody like Garner Minshew or Andy Dalton, would we be having this conversation about not making the playoffs? That is the issue. That falls on Joe D. I think also with the tackle and the offensive line situation, I think that is something that we really thought he was going to do and fix. And I understand injuries happen and there's nothing you can do about that. But at some point, you should draft better. You should get better players in, and you should spend the money to get the players that you should have bought in the building trying to save money. You can't do that with this line, and that was the biggest issue. The reason we lost yesterday is because our line played like shit. That line was horrible. I told you, Feeney is horrible, and I love him to death. He's a great motivated type person. He's a great guy to have on the team. He is not the guy you want playing in a crucial game. Now you come on making the playoffs. Our season would have been over. We would have been one and done with that line that played yesterday.
So kind of shifting off of Joe Douglas for actually one more topic on Joe Douglas that also sort of answers this question from Jomo, scale of 1 to 10 confidence level in a Zach turnaround. It was interesting to hear Joe Douglas say today, this was like the one thing that kind of stood out, where he mentioned that the decision at quarterback isn't his, but it's actually going to be Saleh's decision to make. So what were your thoughts on that? He said that's a Robert Saleh question. I'm like, whoa, that's kind of eye opening. I don't know. What were your
Nah,
thoughts on that?
I like it because listen, you know what Joe D did today? Joe D put the pressure on Saleh. Joe D said, I'm
Yeah,
going to give you what you asked me for to get you where I got to get you to. Now, if I give you the ingredients and you make the cake and it falls down, it doesn't work out, guess what, big fella? You lose your motherfucking job. I did my job, and I can understand that. Now, if the whole time we're thinking that that Joe D and the organization didn't want to sit Zach. No, from what I take from that is he was given the opportunity, Saleh. That's your quarterback. You figure out what you want to do with it. So we're thinking that they were holding him back, and actually Joe D was like, "Nah, I would have said on my damn self." What you think?
I thought it's kind of interesting. I think obviously Joe Douglas is going to take input from Saleh, but if we're being honest, I mean, Saleh's going into next year probably on the hot seat. So of
Shit.
course he's going to want the best quarterback available. You know, does that guy want to come here? Can Joe Douglas financially make it happen for a guy like Lamar Jackson? We can get into all the financial breakdowns. The Jets aren't exactly set up like they were the past couple of years.
No,
Joe
sir.
Douglas is going to have to find some value this year instead of some of those inflated contracts that we have right now. So I don't know. I mean, can they go extreme and actually pay Lamar Jackson a record-breaking contract while also keeping Zach Wilson on the roster and developing him, which it seems like they want to do also?
There's no way you can do that. Listen, you're gonna give Lamar. Lamar wants $245 million, and he wants damn near all of it guaranteed. That's not a decision you're going to be able to make and keep Zach. So if Lamar's your starting quarterback, then Zach is gone. Zach is going somewhere else. And I understand that. But listen, I watched last night, right? And I told myself this. I was like, yo, you know what? The quarterback from Detroit, what's his name? I can't think of his name. It's
Jared
on my mind.
Goff.
Jared Goff. I said, yo, we had Jared Goff, we'd have been in the playoffs. So I
Wow.
want a I want a quality quarterback. I don't care where they get him from. I don't care who it is. I want somebody that can step into play and take this team to the next level. You cannot win what we have on this roster, and this is what it is. And Saleh has to understand your job is at stake. Your job, either you win or you going home.
And that's going right into Saleh, and in his message today, some of the things that he mentioned. I guess we'll start is that I guess this year was all about keeping the quarterback room quiet. I don't know exactly what that was supposed to mean. I guess maybe they thought too many voices were in Zach's ear last year. They brought in his personal quarterback coach. They had Calabrese. I don't know. But
Yeah.
he acknowledged that at least heading into next year, they are going to look to add some kind of senior assistant offensive head coach. So what are your thoughts on that? It seems like all indications right now are that Gary Kubiak's going to be the guy. He's got the connections with Saleh. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think bringing in a guy like Gary Kubiak is exactly what you need. I think that should have been done this offseason. I think that he had too much trust in LaFleur, and LaFleur needs somebody to settle him down to come up with a better game plan. I think in San Francisco, what they did, they had multiple people in the room, and they devised a game plan. I think giving LaFleur too much, I think they gave him too much power, and he needs somebody to settle him down. Somebody like Gary Kubiak, who's a proven OC in this league, who understands football, understands time, understands moments, understands how to attack a team, understands how to adjust in game is what we need. So I think something like that would be amazing to the situation.
Yep. So you can at least give Saleh some credit for acknowledging that the offensive side needs some work. The rest of his press conference, I'll be completely honest, it didn't strike me
Nope.
very well. The tone I didn't like.
Nope.
He seemed too accepting of just the fact that the team absolutely collapsed, but
Yep.
he's okay with it because that's what the expectations were coming into this year, winning 7 games. The way they went about it obviously wasn't what they wanted, but they wanted to compete in December. And he gave this whole spiel about how he did the simulation last year, trying to, make the final 4 games relevant for all the guys in the locker room. So they were all excited when they beat Jacksonville. Well, wasn't that experience supposed to set them up for the big games that they
Yep.
had this year? He was like, oh, well, even though we didn't win any of them, we still lived. I think that was the quote. He said, we lived December football or some shit like that.
Nope.
It just seemed like
It's
he
not
was
enough.
too accepting of just being there and making it to competitive games in December rather than actually raising the bar a little bit and expecting to win those games.
Prime time, I totally agree with you. I got this. I accepted the same thing he said from that, and that's what I gathered from that. I think that listen, you're too comfortable. Why are you comfortable? Why are you comfortable knowing you were 7-4? You know what I'm saying? And it's just what happens. It's all the receipts and all the I'm going to do this. Apparently, you didn't hold yourself accountable, and that's the problem. You can't lose 6 games and tell me there's no way we should not be in the playoffs. You can't tell me that you're not responsible for that. You're telling me you're 7-4. You need 3 games and you're in the playoffs, and you fall and you lose 6 games in a row. Listen, that is coaching. That is your responsibility. Your expectations change when your season changed, when you started winning and people thought you were going to lose. You can't fall back on what your notion was, what this team should have been before you got there. Once you got to 7-4, 6-3, it's a whole different conversation. And for you to sit on here and say and spin me this bullshit about, oh, well, we're going to fight and live to fight another day, and next year we're going to hit the ground running, that's bullshit. That's pimp talk. That's not real. You have to be accountable. Listen, if they would have fired him today, I couldn't have said shit. You lost 6 games in a row when you should have made the playoffs. Bottom line. So what's your grade for him, Prime Time?
Again, I understand the progress aspect of it, but at the same time, for our experience as Jet fans, it seems like these are all the same red flags that we've seen with a lot of head coaches. I feel like he deserves another year. I'm not going to complain about him coming back, but I feel like the red flags are there. Today, he sounded like a used car salesman. It's hard to say anything different. He's just trying to spin this as progress, when in reality, a lot of those wins early in the season were questionable at best against backup quarterbacks at times, sneaking the Steeler game and the Brown game. What exactly did those wins really mean at this point? So you can point to individual players and say, all right, this team maybe could be heading in the right direction. That's good. But there's a lot of other areas. Do you trust Saleh to outcoach a Belichick or an Andy Reid in a big game right now? Is he trending in that direction?
No.
What did he show you that he does well this year? You're talking about inspirational coaches. I saw that from Dan Campbell. You listen to you watch the way he commands a locker room, the way he talks. That's a team that's going to buy into their head coach. When I hear Saleh talk, I don't get that impression anymore.
Nope, I don't. I think that it's also fall on dead ears. I also think that bringing somebody like Kubiak could help Saleh, and that probably was something you should have did this season. I think you need another voice in this atmosphere to be more to hold people more accountable and responsible. Listen, if you lose 6 games in a row and you don't make the playoffs, listen. I mean, if they would have fired Saleh, I would have been okay with it. I'm glad he's coming back. I like Saleh. Don't get me wrong, but there's no way that you could crumble like this and you don't hold no responsibility to this. You're not going to tell us the same dream that you sold every year, because you know what? We could have a worse record next year than this year.
And that's the problem. They're putting all these T-shirts in the players' lockers, saying finish. We're going to be back here next year. You don't know that.
No, exactly.
We hope we're going to be in this position again next year, but if you're not, that's going to be it. He's not going to be around for a year four.
If you're looking at our schedule next year, that's not an easy schedule.
No,
it's not.
Well,
The teams that we have to play next, no. The teams that we have to play next year are all going to improve.
You say that every year, though.
Yeah, but this, I'm telling you, they're going to improve.
This year, we thought the second half was going to be tough, or the first half was going to be tough. The second half was going to be easy. It ended up flipping around, and we ended up playing playoff teams the final 5 weeks. So.
Exactly, and every team we're going to play next year is damn near a playoff team. So it comes like that. I mean, listen, I think this team can vastly improve. The problem that not having cap money, and having to resign some key players, is going to be a problem. So Jody has to do his magic. So what's your grade for Saleh, prime time?
If I'm grading Saleh, it's probably a C or a C plus. It's hard to look at anything more than the collapse. We said all offseason, it wasn't how you started, it was how you finished, right? You wanted to end the year with a positive feeling, like the team was trending in the right direction, like they were going to be ready to compete for something serious next year. And in the first half, you felt that way. The second half, you couldn't feel any differently than that. So
I'm gonna give him I'm gonna give him 2 grades. I'm gonna for the first half. No, listen. Let me finish. For the first half of the year, I would have gave Saleh a B. I would have gave. Okay. I'll do it hypothetically. I would have gave him a B the first half of the year. I really would have. Probably a B plus for overachieving. Just with the second half, it brings it back down to a C. I'm not giving him a minus. I'm not giving him a plus. I'm giving him a solid C. I think that if he becomes a better coach in certain areas, which he did improve in certain areas, but not being able to motivate your men to win games that you should win in December, when you know how important it is and how big the spot is and how bad this organization needs that and this fan base deserves that, then that falls on you, Mr. Saleh. You cannot sell me a dream about winning meaningful games in December and get to December and none of those games are meaningful. That's a very hard pill to swallow. So definitely a C. Damn, F.
Yeah, a couple Fs. I think that's probably a little too. I mean, he did. This is a fair comment. He turned our defense from last in the league last year to top 3. I wouldn't say.
Hey, Trev. Hey, Trev.
They're probably top 3, but
listen, Tyrone's not saying top 3. I'm going to say this about this defense. I think he did an amazing job. I think Auburn did an amazing job with the defense. I think Auburn, if you watched yesterday, he blitzed a lot more than he did all season. I think that was the thing to do. You need more pieces. I understand that, but I'm going to give him credit where credit is due. But the one thing that, listen, we didn't lose this game for our defense, and we lost this game for our offense. And we lost this season, these last 5-6 games because of our offense. So that falls on the head coach because, listen, he's not just a defensive coach, he's the head coach of this team. So he's responsible for every aspect of this team. And I also would say our special teams didn't play well this year. So that falls on him. So at the end of the day, you have to figure it out. And that's why having someone else in that has coaching experience, that's been there before, that understands how to win in this league and how to adjust in game, in season, that's what you need. And I think Saleh lacks that. So that's why it's a C.
Yeah, so to recap today, it seems like, I guess, what we learned about 3 things. Saleh and the rest of the staff are probably going to be safe. Doesn't seem like they're firing anybody. It looks like they're going to try to bring in some kind of, quarterback whisperer or offensive assistant, something like that. And it seems very likely that they're going to explore the veteran quarterback market as the solution to everything. So we'll see what happens there. We'll go into our report card grades. We'll just break down, I guess, the performance from the entire season, going position by position, and starting with the quarterback position. And I guess you got to grade 3 different quarterbacks. The beginning of the year, Zach Wilson with that stupid play in preseason, sprains his knee, misses the first 3 games. I thought Flacco did okay early on. Zach Wilson came back. First game, leads the comeback against Pittsburgh. I think he was 5-2 in his first starts. His first 7 starts, but he was playing like shit, during most of them. It was mostly the run game and the defense that was kind of carrying things. And then ultimately when, he was needed to kind of put the team on his back, he didn't get the job done. Mike White had a couple decent games in there, ultimately still didn't really get the job done in the red zone. Then he gets hurt. Strevler comes in, same kind of stuff. It's hard to look at the quarterback position with any kind of positivity going forward. I think it's clear that there's going to be somebody different under center for next year. What are your thoughts?
How can I come back after that prep time? You covered everything. I agree. I agree with everything you just said. That's a recap right there, buddy. There's no coming around that. If we're going to grade, you want to grade all 4 of them?
You can give them an overall grade, the totality of them, or if you want to give Mike White maybe a separate grade.
Yeah, I'm going to give. I'm going to pull my. You know what? I'm going to go through all 4 of them. I'm going to give Zach a F. There's no way I can give him anything higher than that. I think his ceiling's high for the kid. But if I'm going to give him anything, it's going to be an F plus. I'm going to give Joe Flacco a D minus. I just think that the cell, the sun done set, and the ship done sailed. It's time for Joe to go sit down. I'm going to give Strevel. I'm gonna give him a C for. I'm just gonna give him a C for effort. And Mike White. I'm gonna give a C plus.
Yeah. I mean, Zach, I'll probably give him a D just because, at the very least for some of those games, he didn't make some mistakes. I'll actually give him credit for the Miami game. I'll give him credit for the Buffalo game. I thought he played pretty well in those games, just took what the defense was given. And that's what we wanted him to do at the time because we had that dominant run game. But like I said, ultimately, when he was needed to start making some throws, even some of the easy throws, he just didn't get better. There was nothing about his game that really progressed as the season wore on. His mechanics broke down, and he never looked comfortable in the pocket. He evaded the pocket too soon. He was panicky. He wasn't accurate. So it's tough to give him any kind of positive grade. It's curious about Mike White though, because if you're genuinely looking at last week as far as all the broken ribs and saying that's why he struggled, are you looking at those first couple starts and saying, you know what, maybe there's still something here? We bring him back. We let him and Zach compete for the number 2 job. And then maybe, we don't actually need to go after the high end quarterback.
No, I listen. It's time to bring in the right quarterback.
Yeah.
It's time to go get somebody that can. This is a win now team. You can't go into another season without having somebody that can get the job done. Now I think the thing what you got to do is you go between Zach and Mike White, let them fight it out for the best backup quarterback you can have. But you go with the best. You can't let the guys compete because I'm listening. For real, I think Zach's gonna get a lot better this summer. I really do. I think this offseason Zach's gonna probably come in and look like a number one quarterback. But I think if you bring a guy in, then that's what you're gonna have to go with. You bring somebody like Carr in, you're gonna hit the ground running. I think Carr can run his offense. I think he can make every throw. I think he's a proven leader.
You heard Zach's quote from today, right? He's
Yeah,
gonna
he's going.
he's gonna make the quarterback's life a living hell, whoever comes here. So
Yeah, I mean, true
we'll
indeed. And
see.
you know what, prime time? Listen, and I'm not joking. I bet he will. This kid's going to come back because he's going to click for him next year. That next year is going to be Zach's second year for him mentally. So he's going to grow. He's going to go tremendously. And you know what? Zach might end up doing something amazing. But
Am I the only one that think Carr, Jackson, or Rodgers are the only options for quarterback in free agency? Jimmy G is too injury prone. Wilson isn't the answer. White is a great backup quarterback. I think they're going to explore every option, and
yep,
if they believe that they have a true top 5 defense and that they can bring all these pieces back next year, I mean, why wouldn't Saleh want the best quarterback possible? If
bro.
that's Rodgers, if that's Lamar Jackson, if they can financially make that happen, I mean, why wouldn't they? If they feel that they're a quarterback away, shoot high, right?
Yep. I don't think it'll be Rodgers because I don't think LaFleur can handle. I don't think LaFleur can handle Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers will run over top of him. I think Carr gives you the best chance to win. I
If
wouldn't mind.
LaFleur can't handle Aaron Rodgers, out he goes.
I
Give me
mean,
someone who
listen.
can.
Hey, look, that's just what it is. His brother couldn't handle him. You know what I'm saying? So you think the younger brother's gonna be able to figure it out? His third year OC now. It's not gonna happen. So if you bring in Rodgers, you're definitely going to bring in a veteran. If you bring a Carr, I think Carr would be probably the best quarterback. I think that you can get him. I think you don't have to get him for the money that you really, really want to have to give him. I think give him a 1 year car. He wants to start, so there's not going to be a lot of starting jobs out there. So he's not going to want to go somewhere where he know he can't win or can't succeed. I think the Jets is a viable place to want to go because they're a quarterback away prime time from being a problem. So why wouldn't a quarterback want to come there? Somebody top tier like Carr, I would love to have. Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. Jimmy Garoppolo would be something I would love to have with us. I think Jim, if we can keep Jimmy healthy, Jimmy can run this offense. Jimmy gets it done. Jimmy doesn't make the mistakes. And Jimmy's not a very good, accurate quarterback, but yet and still he finds a way to win. I mean, if you look at Jimmy's winning percentage, it's crazy how much this guy's won. I did was looking at somebody like Garner Minshew, then bring Zach back and then bring Mike White back and let them fight it all out. But I don't know if I want to do that. If I can get a guy like Carr, now listen, Lamar Jackson is a dream. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm telling you, if Joe D can pull that one off, you can get rid of everybody. Like
It,
Lamar and Brees in the backfield together, problem. It's going to be trouble, trouble.
if Gardner Minshew though is the answer at quarterback, to me, that's probably a sign that there's still, whether you believe this is a good thing or not, there's still probably belief in Zach Wilson eventually getting back under center within like another year or two.
I
Which,
mean, that's what it'll be. But listen, but if you had your opportunity, I mean, listen, I mean, this is the whole point. Like, if you bring in somebody like Carr or you bring in Lamar, you're gonna lose a lot of pieces because you got to make that money happen. You have to make that money appear, and I don't see. Well, I mean, I it's gonna be a hard one. It's gonna be a hard decision.
so going to the running backs, which was awesome to watch the first 6 or 7 games of the year when Bruce Hall was doing his thing. It was nice to hear him talk to the media today. It sounds like he's ahead of schedule as far
Yes,
as the
sir.
rehab goes, which is nice. He expects to be there for training camp. So it's nice to hear that everything's going well. Obviously, though, that's still a major knee injury. A guy like him who relies on his speed, his cutback ability. You hope that he's 100%. You expect the team to obviously take it slow with him. Still nice to just find that home run threat coming out of the backfield. Haven't had that in so long. Nice to see Zonovan Knight take advantage of some opportunities late in the year. The big question, I guess, is probably Michael Carter. Where does he fit in the future? First half looked good. Second half coming back after injury, not so good. Thoughts on the running backs?
Um, listen. I mean, listen, you heard Breach's comment. He was like, "Yo, listen, if I wouldn't have got hurt,
Yeah,
I would have crushed that rookie record. I would have,
he was a
1,000 yards.
screenplay.
Yeah, he almost had 1,000. He also had 500 yards, bro, in like 6 games. So imagine what he would have done. This kid was amazing, and I hope speedy recovery. I'm glad to hear he's getting better faster. Bam Knight, listen, the kid just came out of nowhere. It really became good. Michael Carter, I still believe in Carter. I think that he brings so much intangibles to this team. Even Ty Johnson, listen, Ty Johnson, I wrote Ty Johnson back for a while. I didn't understand why they kept Ty Johnson, and now I understand why. Ty Johnson has done nothing but improve over the last 3 years he's been here, and I'm going to give him credit for that. And I think that that running back that by committee is working. I think Brees and Donovan, and then you have somebody like Michael Carter and Ty Johnson next year. You're going into this season with some killers, and I like that. I'm going to give them a grade, and I'm going to put Brees in it as well. Just going to keep it high with him. I'm going to say this right here. I'm going to give them a B plus. I'm going to give them a B plus. You?
I'm probably in that same ballpark. The one negative play, I guess, that probably stands out is the Michael Carter fumble in Buffalo. I think that was a huge momentum swing in that game. Pretty much zapped any chance the Jets had of coming back in that one. But obviously, just looking at the position long term, you have an undrafted kid that steps up the way Zonovan Knight did. He could definitely be part of a backfield by committee. And I think we all thought the same thing about Michael Carter. So as long as you get your workhorse back to 100%, I love what Bruce Hall was able to do when he was healthy. I just hope he can get back to that.
Absolutely. I just think that we got that part of it. We got fixed. What's next?
So going to wide receivers, obviously Garrett Wilson, a dog. To me, it's not even a question. Going into next year, he should have that C on his chest. The way that he was playing yesterday in a completely meaningless game, going after fumbles and just putting his body on the line, making cuts, playing it like the playoffs were still on the line. To me, that's true leadership. So what did he finish with? Like 83 catches, 1,100 yards, something like that,
Yep.
4 touchdowns.
Some of that. Yep.
Yep. So
Absolutely.
great season by him. You wonder what his totals would have been if he actually had competent quarterback play there.
Exactly, prime time. Exactly, prime time. And
Unfortunately, the negative is that you look at all the other receivers combined, and they had like 100 catches and
yep.
barely the same yardage as him. Elijah Moore, huge disappointment this year, probably more disappointing than any other player on the roster as far as what was expected out of him. Talk about him potentially being a number one wideout. Then he demands a trade. When he's out there, at times his route running just looks questionable, looks uninspiring. I don't know what his future holds. Berrios, you could say that contract doesn't look great right now. Corey Davis, last year of his deal, is he worth $10 million with the injuries, the penalties, the drops? A lot of questions at wide receiver beyond Garrett Wilson. So what are your thoughts?
I feel the same way. Garrett Wilson, straight dog. Dog. Competent quarterback play. This kid has probably 16, 1700 yards for the season. You think? This kid
Probably, yeah.
just this kid
Probably.
just he just played out. He played out of his mind. This kid is absolutely everything is advertised. Joe D knocked it out of the park with this kid. Elijah Moore, you know what? I'm not going to chalk that on him. I'm going to chalk that on bad quarterback play. I'm gonna have to get that one to him. I think they didn't use him right. He needed to be in the slot. The kid is absolutely a talent. The kid is absolutely a mismatch, and not using him correctly has been a problem. And that's our OC, making things personal and holding grudges. That was not something that I really like. Corey Davis, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not on the cut the Corey Davis bandwagon. Now it depends on what we pick up in the draft. But I listen, he's $10 million, and these guys are going for 15, $20 million receivers. So I think that having somebody like him, I might restructure his contract, bring him back one more year while we develop a young player. Um, you
That's
know,
one way to look at it, or can you look at it the other way and say, you know what, I'm going to take that $10 million, invest another, 4 or 5 million, and get me that $15 million a year stud, whoever
okay,
one of
but
the top
but
five guys are that are free agents this year.
but what I'm looking at is this though. I'm looking at what we already have a dog. And I think that they understand that what happened with Elijah Moore. I think also you have this draft this year as well. I also like Jeff Smith as well. I think Jeff Smith didn't get enough
Free agent.
opportunities. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, you still got Mims. So you know. No, listen. Not. You still listen. If you're going to compare, would you keep Mims and Corey Davis? They're probably a wash to me, right? They're about equal.
Uh, I mean, Mims hasn't really done it yet. Corey Davis has done it. I know he's been injured, and
I,
usually
but
his good plays are surrounded by penalties and other things, but he's at least had a couple productive seasons. Mims is yet to do that, though.
I mean, but Mims hasn't been getting the opportunity as well, though. I'm just saying, like, listen, I'm thinking that, listen, if you bring Corey Davis back, it's $10 million. I think that if you're going to find somebody else, these guys, these receivers are really getting major contracts. So I don't know if Jody wants to invest in that right there because I think he has enough. So what my grade for the receivers would be, and this is solely a Wilson push up. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's probably about a B plus. No, no, I'm
You
sorry,
could
a
say
B, a
an
B,
A
B, solid
minus
B.
to an A for Garrett Wilson, and
Yeah,
probably a D for everybody else,
yeah,
right?
that's what I told you. Like,
Right?
listen, listen. You're a teacher, so I'm great. I'm listen, probably. So you got a grade on the curve. Listen, if you take Garrett Wilson out of that, it's probably the receiving core is probably about a D for me. Absolutely, I think he brings it up to a grade, so I'm going to give it a B minus. I think he brings that much to up. He brings him up that much. What's your grade on him?
No, absolutely. I mean, he gave you everything you could want and more.
Yeah.
I think maybe at times they could have featured him a little bit more. Early in the year, I have no idea against
Oh
Baltimore
my
why he
goodness,
wasn't being
yo.
used a little bit more there. But ultimately,
Listen,
yeah, I mean, he definitely, I think, lived up to expectations, and the future for him, I think, is clear number one wide receiver. So
yep,
love what he
absolutely.
brought this year. Going to the tight ends, not so good. Like I was saying before, they combined for I think 79 catches on the year, Uzama and Conklin, but still under 800 yards, only 5 touchdowns. Early in the year, it seemed like they were doing some of the quiet work, a lot of the blocking, which was leading to wins. So you accepted it. Late in the year, when they were asked to do a little bit more, Conklin, he's had some drops, some fumbles. Uzama just never really gets featured. I don't think he had a game with more than 3 catches. So when you're paying both of those guys, combined $20 million, and they're pretty much guaranteed contracts for next
Yeah.
year, how do you look at the tight end group? Should they have used Ruckert more at some point this year? What are your thoughts on the tight ends?
Yeah, I thought Rucker should. It was nice to watch them come in. I don't know if you watched that cleanup block he had yesterday. Yeah, he just smacked the
Oh,
junk out of somebody
crush
yesterday.
that
Yo,
dude.
yeah, it was beautiful. I, I'm going to look at the tight end group like this. I'm going to be honest with you. I give them.
Wilson
yeah,
himself. Yeah.
yeah. I'm gonna give the tight end group. I'm gonna give them a C plus. I'm gonna tell you why. I think the tight end group could have been a lot better. I think Uzama was used to block early in the season. I think Conklin had a lot of drops, but I don't think they were used properly. They did not attack the middle of the field, and I thought having those two guys that would definitely be something that they would do that which they did not do. I think Rucker will have a major role, a much bigger role next year, and I think that with the two guys in front of them, I think they were using the veterans instead of using the rookie. I think next year that flips around. I think the best player will play. But I think LaFleur made the biggest mistake of not using these guys up the middle. And that would have helped Zach out so much, just having them big targets and featuring them more. So I think with the lack of them doing that, that's why the production was down. We're talking about 800 yards at tight end, probably the best we had in about 10 years. So I'm just going to be honest with you. So
Insane,
what's your
man.
grade? What's your grade on them?
I mean, they were probably a C- for me because I can't look beyond the contracts as well. To me, you're getting paid that much. There's a certain level of production I think that's expected. You look at what Uzama was able to do last year and what Conklin was able to do individually last year. And I guess Conklin was sort of close to his numbers last year. I don't think Uzama lived up to what we expected from him. I know he brings plenty of leadership and he's big in blocking and things like that, but for that kind of contract, I think we all expected a little bit more. And I definitely would have liked to have seen Ruckert on the field a little bit more too. He's a little bit more athletic, a little younger. I think they could have found some ways to just get him a little bit more involved in the offense.
I agree with you. Totally agree.
All right, O-line. Where do you want to start here? It feels like every single year we're talking about replacing another 2 or 3 guys. And lo and behold, this year it's the same kind of thing. You got McGovern, who's going to be a free agent. You got AVT coming back from surgery. You got Becton coming back from surgery. Who knows, where he fits in. I know he met the media today. He said he's going to be working out in New Jersey all off season. Hopefully he's recommitted, but still going into the final year of his contract. Hasn't played in 2 years. I don't think you can expect him to be a starter. You can allow him to compete. You can let him show up to training camp, but penciling him in as one of those top 5, I think that's impossible. So you probably need a tackle. Who knows what the future of Dwayne Brown is? Although I thought he was a warrior this year. He had the injured shoulder, and he battled through it the entire year. Same thing with George Fant. He played injured most of the year, struggled a little bit. He's a free agent. So what do you do as far as the offensive line? Is that a primary focus in the draft? Do you have to use another first-round pick on another tackle? Do you trust AVT possibly playing tackle? What are your thoughts on the O-line?
Yeah. Get rid of everybody. No, I'm just joking. First of all, let's start with Becton. Becton came in. Yo, absolutely. AVT ain't going nowhere. If you try to interview with Becton today, he looked slim, he looked in shape, he looked really good. He looked really, really good. I think the 2 years being out, the people saying he's not focused. He's gonna stay in Jersey, which means he is gonna stay there to get right and change his body and start doing the things and eating correctly and putting the right things inside of him to make him a better player. No, I'm not penciling him in as anything. You're gonna have to compete. If you win the job, you win the job. He's a big physical kid with a lot of talent. If he can stay healthy, kid could be a problem. AVT, absolutely the best lineman that we have had since Mangold and Ferguson. Bottom line, I think that this kid is absolutely a team player. He's a great leader, and I love him. Thomason, he's definitely not of his contract at all. He's locked in for next year, so he
That's what I'm
shall be
saying.
back.
I think they take like an $18 million dead money.
Yeah, nah,
He's going to
not
be
at
here.
all. He's gonna be here next year. McGovern, I think you bring him back if the contract is right. You got to find a center in there. I don't know if it's smart. I don't know the free agent market just yet. Haven't started my research on that yet. But if it's somebody better, if it's an upgrade, then if not, you bring him back. You put 2 good guys beside him. He plays well. His play went down when AVT went down and he moved out, and the guys beside him went down. That's what the level of his play went down. You still got Mitchell coming back. I think they let Fant walk. I don't think you bring Fant back. You got Mitchell. You got Becton. I think Brown, if he does not retire, he's under contract. Absolutely warrior. And I'm going to give him credit, man. He fought the whole season with one arm, and he did it. We complain about these guys holding and stuff like that, but try playing the football game in pain in all types of weather all season long just because you love this team, you want them to win. And in my eyes, whatever he wants to do, I'm with. If Brown comes back and you got Becton, you move AVT back to right guard. Line is solid. I think you let Mitchell and Becton fight it out. I think Becton would win that if healthy. You got Mitchell. Listen. You definitely draft someone. I think you draft. I think you draft 1 or 2 people. I think you get a couple swing tackles. I think you also bring in some better guards, some bigger physical guys. You also you draft a nice backup center that you can develop and groom. It has to be the plan. If you're looking at it in the total aspect of it, the line play was at sometimes was good to me. The line played so much worse when Fant came back and Mitchell went out. I think that's when the line fell off. So yeah, you're gonna have to fix that problem. There's no way you can depend on somebody like Becton. I think if the kid can stay healthy, sky's the limit, man. Physically the kid is there. It's just the rest of it. So it's going to be a telling off
Could you
season.
imagine him getting himself right and actually being the starting right tackle with AVT over there on the left side? That'd be
Listen.
nice. Or even
I'm
put
telling
AVT at guard, have them two playing next to each other, have a
Yeah,
dominant side.
that's what I was saying. But if you looked at him today, regardless of the fact, I would not put him at left tackle. Even if Brown leaves, I wouldn't give that to him. I think I would draft someone else in the first round, or I would sign someone. But if you're looking at him today, he looked really slim prime time. I'm a bigger guy, you know what I'm saying? And I've been if people tell me all week long, I mean, you look good, you know, out of passing in the family. So everyone's, I mean, you lost some weight. I can see it, you know. So with him, I see it. So I see that he's down about 40, 45 pounds. He looks slim. He looks good. He looks in shape. He looks locked in. So if he comes back and him and AVT, the sky's the limit. You can find you a left tackle. You can draft you a left tackle that can come in and play. Thomason that definitely has to play better. And then the center thing is the most important thing. I don't mind bringing McGovern back if the contract is right. I'm not paying him 12, 15 million. We're not getting that.
I'd,
If we
I'd
can
like
get
to
him
see them bring him back on like a 2-year contract and then just draft
2 years,
somebody in round 3,
what
round
what
4,
what
and
what,
move
what are
them
you
to be the
What are you
starter.
talk? What are you talking about? 2 years? What? 16 million, 12
I
million
mean,
guaranteed,
I
something
mean,
like that.
probably the same value that he's making now, which is what, like 8 or 9 million a year. I
Yep,
think that's
yep. See
somewhere
that
around
that's
where he's at.
that's right where I was at. That'll be perfect.
Yeah, if you can extend them 2 years like that, I would do it.
So my overall grade for the line, I want to give these guys, and this is an AVT grade that solely boosting it up. I'm going to give them a C plus. I can't really go higher than that. Now if I'm grading AVT by itself, I'm going to give them a B plus. You know, but this line itself, I'm going to give them probably C, C plus, somewhere in that ballpark. You?
The way they finished, I mean, I know they were dealing with a ton of injuries, and Fan came back. He was injured most of the year. I know Brown was nicked up most of the year. They lost Herbig for the last couple games, and he was banged up. So they dealt with tons of injuries. First half, though, there were games where the offensive line, like all those quotes from Saleh about just grinding teams out, the offensive line was doing that.
Did
That
that?
was
Yep,
becoming our identity, and that was without Becton too. I mean, that was with
yep.
ABT and just the with Brown, and like we were grinding teams down in the fourth quarter, and that was our recipe for success. And so you give them credit for the first half, but then like you said, once they lost AVT, that was their anchor, that was their star,
Yep,
and they didn't seem right after that. So for
absolutely.
me, it's probably somewhere C plus, B minus. I thought they held up well early on, and then second half of the year, unfortunately, they didn't have enough.
Okay. Defense.
What's your favorite? So looking at the D line, I mean, we'll start there. Quinnen Williams reports today that he could be looking at a holdout if he doesn't have a new contract by voluntary workouts. At least he said he wouldn't report there. I don't know about missing any of the mandatory stuff. You look at what Aaron Donald's making, which is around 30 million a year. The next two guys below him, as far as interior linemen, are Leonard Williams or Forrest Buckner. They're around $21 million. You figure Quinnen probably falls right in the middle, around 24, 25 per year. He's 25 years old. You should feel comfortable giving him 5 or 6 years, making him one of your anchors going forward. So, what are your thoughts first on Quinnen Williams and his future with the team?
Yo, listen. Pay the man. Pay the man.
Like
Stop
Ray Lucas
talking.
says, pay that
Pay
man
the
his
man.
money.
Absolutely. Listen, he made a comment in a quote today that really resonated with me. He said, "I've done everything I'm supposed to on and off the
Yep.
field." Listen, you can't preach changing culture. You can't preach about becoming a solid team and protecting your players and your family when you have a player that you drafted, that you watch grow up, and you watch this kid become one of the best interior linemen in the NFL. He is top 3, hands down. Matter of fact, I'm gonna be honest with you. He's really top 2, and I think that if you break the numbers down, he outplayed Donald this year. You give that man his contract. 20 between 22 to 24 million a year. You
If you
give
can
him
get a
a five.
first round pick, does that change anything? I
Nah.
mean,
For Quinnen, I'm gonna need 2. I'll move Quinnen for 2. I'm not moving him for 1.
yeah.
There's no way. Listen. This kid gets double teamed every single play, and still finish with 12 sacks. No, sir. You pay that man his contract. So if I'm going to give Quinnen a grade, Quinnen gets an A plus for me.
Letting him play out the option year, I think, could be difficult. I'm sure the team would probably prefer to do that. Let him, show that he
Nah,
could do it for another year. But
nah, I
like
wouldn't.
Tyrone just said, to this point, his first 4 years with the team, he's done everything that they've asked. He feels like he's earned that contract. He's never said a word about it. He's never missed any time. He's never missed any voluntary stuff. He's always there. So you want to ultimately, I think, reward a player for that. So looking at the rest of the D line, unfortunately, though, lots of questions there. You can look at JFM. Good player. Is he worth the contract? I think they would take like $7 million dead money if they want to cut him. Not a whole lot of savings there. So he's probably part of your future still for at least another year. Carl Lawson, you could save $15 million by cutting him. Also, it was revealed today, I don't know if you heard this, that he actually re-injured the Achilles last year, right around this time. So he initially tore the Achilles in August, and then they said sometime, I guess, early January, late December, there was a setback, and he had to have another surgery. So he didn't actually start running until about a month before training camp.
Exactly. See, prime time.
So all year when we were talking about that lack of, explosiveness and not really having, some of those extra moves as far as a pass rusher goes, perhaps that was the reason why.
That was the reason why.
Do you bring him back for another year at $15 million, or do you try to restructure?
I'm definitely going to talk to him about restructuring, but I'll definitely bring him back. Listen, prime time, all he did was bull rush. That's all he did was bull rush. And now it's showing why that was the reason he got hurt. You know what I'm saying? Because he didn't have enough time. So that just shows you the mentality of the warrior that he is, because he played all season long like that. So, after the rehab, he still played. So no, you bring him back, because next year he'll be back to rare form. He'll be back to what we thought he was going to be before he got injured. So I think you definitely bring him back. I think you try to restructure. I think what you try to do is you try to give him 10 million cash, and that's the rest of that hit through the pay thing, and you pay him like that.
If you're Carl Lawson, though, why would you restructure? You got 1 year left. You're making $15 million. If you have a great year, you hit the market again. Coming off a career season, you're probably getting another nice contract. So from Carl Lawson's perspective, what incentive does he have to restructure?
I mean, you got a point there too as well. You got a point there too as well.
The point I was going to make is that if you do ultimately give Quinn Williams another contract, depending on how they structure it, if you're paying him $20 to $25 million a year, plus Carl Lawson at 15, and JFM,
that's $35 million.
That number is about
that's 40. That's 40 million. That's 40 million in your offensive line.
$50 million for 3 players.
Yeah,
on the D line. When you play 8 or 9 defensive linemen pretty consistently, is that a proper way to build your roster and your team?
Prime time, you got a point there.
And you just invested a first-round pick in Jermaine Johnson.
You got a point there. Listen, I like Lawson. I think Lawson plays a major part on this line. I think the fact of the matter is that once he gets healthy, Quinn brings so much disruption on the inside. If you can have a guy that can get there, but I tell you this, I would cut Lawson and re-sign Huff and make Huff a starter, or Huff and Johnson a starter, and I could go with that. I think that could get it done. I think with Lawson, he just has that opportunity to get there. And listen, I knew the way he was playing that he just wasn't there. But if he hits the open market, what is he going to get? His production wasn't there this year. His production wasn't there. I mean, it was not there.
No, absolutely. And again, like bringing back Huff, I mean, I don't know how you work that contract, because like we were talking about yesterday, he's putting up these numbers, and getting all these pressures in very limited reps. He's going to feel like, if I was playing 20 snaps a game, 25 snaps a game, 30 snaps a game, those numbers will be going up. I want to get paid as such. So I don't know what a contract is going to look like for him. And same thing with Jermaine Johnson. You invested a first-round pick. You probably want him on the field. Do you trust him as one of your top 4 for next year?
I got a question though. With Huff, can you add a tender to him?
What's that?
Can you add a tender to Huff?
I don't think so.
Listen, somebody's going to give.
He's unrestricted. The only way would be to franchise tag him, and then he's getting like the top 5.
No, I can't do that. Somebody's going to give him $10 million a year, prime time, easily. Somebody's going to do it. Yeah, someone's going to do it. Somebody's going to be like, look, man, I lose him in the great. Somebody's like, I use him in the greater role. We got a problem. Somebody like Dallas or somebody like New England would definitely use somebody like him and make him a star. So I think you bring Huff back. If you get rid of Lawson, you definitely bring Huff back. I think Johnson could step up between Johnson and Clemens. But see, what you have to understand is they do that rotation anyway. So I think that they like the fact that Johnson and Clemens comes in together, because I think Johnson and Clemens was brought in to get rid of Lawson and JFM, but I think that's over time. You know what I'm saying? I think Quinn is going to be your base of your line, and you develop these 2 guys for 2 years and let them take over. And I think at that point they'll be able to get there. So the one thing they said about Johnson all year long is he just needed more time to develop more defensive passive moves. So I think he's going to take them a year or so. So I think that you bring them guys back, give them one more year, let these young guys develop. After that, you cut both of them and you move on.
I think the only other question probably on the D line is what do you do on the interior other than Quinn and Williams? Solomon Thomas was a 1-year contract, if I remember right. Sheldon
Yeah.
Rankins is a free agent. Nathan Shepard's a
Vinny
free
Williams.
agent.
Vinny
It
Williams.
seems like a
Vinny
lot of
Williams.
talk has been about adding a little bit more size, kind of beefing up the middle, getting one of those, 340-pound, like true run stuffers in there. Because right now they have a lot more, athletic types that can kind of pass rush, but they don't really have that humongous, run stuffer that occupies.
Who we missing? Photo Kasi.
Yeah.
Photo Kasi.
Yeah,
Listen,
never
Photo
really replaced him, right?
Kasi and Quinnen right now. I'm not gonna lie to you. I liked the way Rankins played all year long. I think Rankin played well. I think Rankin and Quinnen together was a good mix. I think you find somebody on that line right there. Somebody's that's nice size, nice inside pass rush. And I think that if Lawson plays better next year, that line could be a problem. But they want to get there with four. So I look in the draft as well. Maybe you find one of these little tackles like the kid. I said one of the things where the kid out of Georgia might drop. Watching this kid now dominate. You know what I'm saying? So you find somebody like that young, bring them in, develop them. We also drafted old boy Smart still on there. It's a lot of players that we have that we can use, but I wouldn't mind getting somebody a little bit more physical. But yeah, that's the move to make, man. But
according to Athlon, I guess they can tender Bryce Huff
yes, sir.
$6 million first round, $4 million second round.
I,
Haven't
four,
done enough of my my cap studies yet.
yo, 4 million second round, absolutely. He's definitely gonna tender. And
That's
and I'm going to give the defensive line my grade for them is a B plus. I'm going to B plus.
You're too nice. You're way too nice.
Nah, I'm going to B plus. Line wasn't the problem this year.
I'll go B. Maybe B,
Okay.
B minus or a B.
Okay.
There were just too many games in the second half for me where they just completely disappeared. And whether you want to blame the coaching staff for not kind of adjusting things and trying to blitz a little bit more, relying too much on coverage or what, you're paying guys a lot of money and they ultimately weren't getting there. Quinnen had his career year. You could separate him and say, he was the lone guy that you could probably give an A. The rest of the guys, Carl Lawson, I think underachieved, JFM underachieved, had some costly penalties as well. And the rest of the guys, they rotated in. They did okay at times. Other times they got gashed in the running game. So
yeah, I feel that one.
Going to linebackers.
Ah, here we go.
Linebackers. A lot of questions at linebacker. You got Mosley pretty much penciled in. He's making close to $20 million. Same conversation we have with him. Good player. Is he worth that much money? I think he's the third highest paid linebacker in football. You could say maybe getting paid a little bit too much there, but still one of the anchors of the defense, one of the leaders of your team. Other than him, though, lots of questions for next year. I thought Quan Alexander was pretty solid this year. Same thing for Quincy Williams. You probably want to bring both of those guys back. How much are you willing to pay him, though?
Well, that's the problem. Listen, we don't got to talk about Mosley because he's not going nowhere. So he's going to be here next year. You guarantee that. If you listen to the Quincy Williams interview today, yeah, he's talking about giving the hometown discount. I don't know if you heard it, but he said that. He said he wants to be here. He wants to be a Jet. His team took a chance on him, and he wants to be a Jet, and he's willing to take a little less. Throwing a little tip in your hat to Joe Douglas, get it done. Quan, I definitely try to bring Quan back. I mean, Quan's gonna want a bigger contract. The biggest issue that we have is a linebacker in coverage. The kid that we got from Dallas that have on our practice. The kid that we got from Dallas on the practice squad, I think he needs more time to develop. I think he could actually be a steal. We just signed him to a future contract, which I like a lot. You look to the draft and see what's out there. Give me somebody that can come in and play that role and cover, but also be a rusher as well. That's something that we need to invest in. That's the biggest issue. I think we also got Hasadine. We still got Sherwood. I think Sherwood's going to be the backup to Mosley. I think once Mosley leaves, Sherwood's going to take over. And that's just the way I look at it. I think that the guys that we have are good. We need somebody in coverage. So I think that I don't know if they bring Quincy and Quan back. I think they'll lean more to Quincy, and then you draft somebody or you find somebody that can cover. I would love to have Quan back. I think if you can get Quan back for $2 to $3 million, I think they'll definitely do it. I think Quan being healthy all year shows that he could be there. So he might have opportunity to go somewhere else to get more money. I think Quincy could get more money. I think if something reasonable, he'll stay with the Jets. So my overall grade for the linebacker, I'm gonna give my grade real quick and let you go. My grade with them will be B minus.
That's
B
fair.
minus.
Yeah, Quan was probably one of the few guys that they actually got really good value out of in free agency. One of the later signings, I think they paid close to the veteran minimum at like 1.5 million, something like that. They didn't give him a lot of money, so a lot of production out of him. First season, I think in like 5 or 6 years that he played every single game. So you kind of expect him to take that opportunity and cash in. You wonder if he might be out of the Jets price range, but the connection with Quincy Williams, he's also a young player. I definitely think they would probably lean towards bringing him back. But I agree with the chat. I think you absolutely have to draft somebody. It's more than past time to get some youth and some
Yep.
legitimate speed on this team at linebacker. And I'm not even talking about Nasruddin and Sherwood, like mid to late round picks, like a
Yep.
second round pick or higher, a true stud coverage
Or first round pick.
for so long.
Or first round pick. Get somebody like, listen, like a Michael Parsons in the draft. Get that steal.
Devin
Come to the
White,
Jets. Yes,
yeah.
sir. Yeah,
Every
absolutely.
year it seems like there's one or two of these studs that come out. The kid from
Yep.
Chicago, I always forget his name. Yeah, there's always somebody every year that's coming out. So
Yeah, absolutely.
going lastly to the
What's your
secondary,
grade?
we'll actually do special teams. Oh, my grade, it's probably a B minus.
Okay.
I thought they were good for most of the year. They were part of a defense again that made a huge jump from where they were last year. They cleaned up a lot of their issues, but it still seemed like, especially in the second half, they were the group along with the safeties that got exposed. They looked a little bit slow at times. The Mosley 4th-and-1 offsides is going to stick in my brain forever. What could have
Yes,
been
sir.
if not for that. So it's a lot of ups and downs with a lot of these groups. But going to the secondary, probably the biggest bright spot on the team is just the play of Sauce and DJ Reed, what the Jets
Yes,
were able
sir.
to get out of them, doing their best to recreate Revis Island and Crow. Couldn't imagine Sauce playing the way that he's played as a rookie, going up against Jamar Chase and some of these other guys, and legitimately looking like he belongs. So credit to Sauce, and I think DJ Reed deserves tons of credit also, because we were there for a lot of training camp, and those two were locked at the hip. Reed was always taking him under his wing, showing him what to do, working on technique. So for the Jets to have their 1-2 tandem at corner is huge, but unfortunately, lots of questions at safety. Whitehead, he was kind of up and down all year. Joyner, he was in and out. He's a free agent, probably not coming back. So, you can look at Michael Carter and say, pretty solid job at nickel. You got your 1-2 punch at corner. Now you got to figure out your safeties.
Yeah. I listen. Um, Sauce is probably the defensive player of the year. I mean, defensive rookie of the year, and absolutely
Yeah.
deserves it. When you talk about what this young man has done, come in, he gets the NFL off season to get stronger and faster. This kid was everything is advertised. He's a class act. He's a great player. He understands the game. He's a student of the game, and he wants to get better. You got to give this kid all the credit in the world. DJ Reed coming in from Seattle, you knew the kid. You know he was a dog, and he proved it. And honestly, I think he got robbed for not being a Pro Bowler. He had a Pro Bowl season. I'm going to give both of them guys an A plus. Michael Carter, I think it was serviceable. I don't think he played as well as he did last year. I think he had better talent around him, and I think teams picked on him. Um, if they want to upgrade over him, I probably wouldn't be as mad. I think that you find somebody that could come in. Like I want the kid, I want Alexandra from Green Bay put in the slot with this defense. Oh my God, what a player he would be. As for the safeties, I think Whitehead comes back. I think his contract's going to be hard to get rid of. I think you find a free safety that can actually cover with range. I think that was the one lacking moment in there. You use Whitehead more like you use Jamal at the line thumper. You know what I'm saying, type of guy, and you get a free safety that with range that could cover. That you get that in the draft, or get that in free agency. This defense can take a whole different level of defense. I think with Eccles, I bring Eccles back. I think Hall's a free agent, which I think you wish him the best, and you hope he finds someone else. I think you draft one or two players that come in, develop behind the ones that you have, and then you have a solid defense. I think where we got down to is the only part I will upgrade is free safety. It may be slot corner. I like Carter. Don't get me wrong. I like the kid. He's very talented. I think that teams went after him. So if you could find a dog like Alexander, the kid from Green Bay, I don't know if he's a free agent or not, but if he is, to bring somebody like that in with that secondary. Oh my God! Lights. That's it. Yes, sir. Absolutely. You feel me? Absolute
It sounds kind of
straight
crazy though.
dogs.
It sounds kind of crazy the thought of paying another corner though, and that was arguably the strength of
Hey,
the defense this year.
you're not paying Sauce that much right now. You know what I mean? He has a pretty
He's fourth
so
overall pick. It's a decent
yeah,
contract.
It's a decent contract, but it's not really killing you right now. You can get that guy. Listen, that guy come in, bro. Listen, that's a no-fly zone prime time. You understand me? Listen, dog. I mean, don't get me wrong. Carter was serviceable, but if you notice towards the end of the season, a lot of teams started picking on Carter because they knew he was the weakest link. So I'm just saying, man, what a day it would be. Absolutely.
I completely agree with you though on free safety. I feel like that's the biggest weak link probably in that secondary.
Yep.
Just getting that
Absolutely.
true ball hawk back there.
Yep.
They had Marcus May for a year or two. You go back further. I mean, Kerry Rhodes gave you a couple years, before he signed his contract. But they haven't really had that true ball hawk that can cover all
Yeah.
sorts of ground.
Eh,
That
eh,
gives you flexibility up front to send extra guys and blitz.
eh,
That's what they're
eh,
lacking, I think, back there.
and I'm gonna tell you this right here. If we would have had Marcus May this year, it would have been a really good. I know Georgia's killing him right now. Big up to my man Sandy out in Georgia, diehard Georgia fan, man. I know he's happy as a mug right now. But I'm gonna say this: listen, we had somebody like Marcus May back there with that defense, they a lot better. I think Joyner, we knew that when we went in that free safety was gonna be one of our weakest points, just like outside linebackers, kind of our liabilities and coverage. I think that what teams did with Carter is they attacked him because he's smaller, he's not as talented as Sauce and Reed, and that's how they took advantage of us. But I think if you bring somebody else in, it's Aubrey, because to me, with the corners you had, you could be a little bit more aggressive. So he was a little bit more passive. He was trying to get there with 4 and drop 7 and make you beat us that way. When the guys were getting it, that works. But when it doesn't work, you got to send somebody else. If you watched last night, he sent Mosley, he sent Williams, he sent other people to attack. What the secondary that you have, that's what you get the secondary for. That's what I thought they were going to use them for. So I think the strategy would change next year as well.
Yeah, Tyson is, I believe, flying back from Miami at some point today. He may have
Yes,
already flown
sir.
back. So he may be here tomorrow. If not, he's probably a little bit tired. So I'm
Yeah.
sure you guys will hear from him pretty soon. Do you even want to talk about special teams?
Nope.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Greg Zuerlein, good job, earned his job back. Re-sign
Yep.
him. Braden Mann, Barrios, not so good job. They can go.
Nope. Yep. Absolutely. Listen. Yeah, listen, prime time. All in one statement. Listen, Greg the Leg, you're more than welcome back. Yo, Brayton Man, I wish you the best of luck. You know what I'm saying? Yo. No,
The chat's ripping me a little bit for your
hold
free
on.
agent spending habits
Yo,
already.
listen, man, listen. I'm just saying, like, y'all understand, like, with this defense, I'm going to make a few adjustments to make some things work. So we know we
I'm
need some
just
free
saying,
safety.
if you're paying Quinnen Williams, and again, it may be structured where the cap hit doesn't start until the following year. I completely get that.
Absolutely.
But right now, they only have about 15 million based on the projections. The cap's
Okay.
supposed to go up to, I think, 225 next year. So the Jets only have about 15 million. You want to give them 25 million from Lawson and Corey Davis, fine. Well, some of that's going to go to your draft picks, and then you
Yep.
still have your center to sign. What's going to happen at quarterback? I
Prime
mean,
time. Prime time. Listen. The
I don't know
one
how
thing
you're signing a
the
corner.
the one thing that we know that they can do is listen. The Saints have been signing players, and the
I know
Rams
the
have been signing
salary cap
players.
is a myth. I know.
This no,
Except
no,
for the
it's not.
Jets.
It's not a myth. I think that what you do is when you have a team that's not winning and you know that's not going to be able to move forward, you can't spend money like that because you don't want to put yourself in harm's way. We're in a situation now that we're a quarterback away from being a really good football team. We all agree to that. So you know. Hennessy ain't going nowhere. So, so what you do is this: you
Except in
you
your
you
glass.
you go ahead and be a little bit more aggressive. You understand that we're only a few players away from being able to do that. Yo, listen, we are in Vegas this year. Don't even worry about it.
I,
We
I,
will.
I don't
Let's
think
talk
Carlos knows what's
Jets.
happening in Vegas next year.
Let's talk Jets. We'll be in Las Vegas, and I'm telling you, the city don't sleep. We don't either.
Well, hold
Absolutely.
on. We're only going to be there though if the game is before what November,
I do, prime
somewhere,
time.
somewhere early
It
November.
does. It doesn't matter
Well,
when that
I
game
can't
is.
afford 2 trips to Vegas, so I know
Listen.
that I'm flying out there initially for Jay because he's getting married. We're
Yes.
hoping that it's going to be when the Jets are going to be out there.
Well,
So as
listen.
long as the game's played in September and October, it'll be a bachelor party, it'll be a Jet game, it'll be a Jet
Yes,
party.
sir.
So stay tuned
Listen.
for all that.
Let's talk Jets. We'll be in Vegas, baby. Let's do that. the city who don't sleep, primetime Tyson in Hollywood himself. Oh my God.
I'm
Woo!
definitely going to try to make the road trip for the Giants game. That's going to be a tough one.
Man, primetime, man,
I think
listen,
I
you
can
know
pull
what's
that
so
one off there.
crazy? I was looking at that Giants game, and I was like, man, that's too far to drive. I think I can make it, though, primetime.
You can make it too.
That game, listen, I was looking at the schedule and see where else I wanted to go. Everywhere I want to go is coming to us. I think I might go to Dallas. My best friend, Heb, I love you, big homie. I think I'm about to go there in Dallas Stadium and see Mr. Jones. I'm going to have to go.
And I have some very sad news. It's not official yet, but it's leaning towards this direction, just about official. This may have been the last season for me as a season ticket holder. It
No.
may have finally happened. And it's not even so much all, I hate the team or anything like that. It's just, you know what? For the prices to go up and to see what the secondary market is selling a lot of the lower level seats for and what you can get them on game day often half the time, it's like, you know what? Some of these games I can't even find people to go with. I can't resell them. So you know
Yeah.
what? This might actually be it. Not so much as an indictment against the team, but all my life I've been a season ticket holder. This might be the one year I finally go in and just say, you know what? I'm going game by game. It
Hey, well,
might
listen.
actually be happening.
Well, listen. You know, the first game of the season we're gonna be there. Let's see what the first road game is this season. We'll probably try to make something happen. So, any games on the schedule that interest you that you want to go to besides what's going on, Elmo? Um, definitely Vegas for me. Definitely Dallas.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely going to the Vegas game. Dallas, I went to Dallas in 2015. That was an awesome time. I could definitely see going back there. I'm excited for the Giant game just because that's usually a rowdy crowd.
Yeah.
Who else is on the schedule? I know it got posted today.
Yeah, I saw. Hold on, Kansas City.
I screenshot it.
Um,
Hold on. Let me see what the home
Kansas
games are.
City Raiders. What's his
Yeah,
name
so
against
the
you?
home games are Buffalo, Miami, New England, KC, Chargers, Eagles, Commanders, Texans, Falcons. So
Okay.
I probably want to go to I would definitely want to go to the Chief game, Charger game.
Yeah.
Road
I,
trips, I'm sure we'll do Vegas. I don't know why nobody else likes Cleveland. I've been to Cleveland 2 times now, almost. It was 2 times or 3 times I've been to Cleveland. Yeah, 2 times.
listen,
I
oh
enjoy
boy,
Cleveland.
the dude who has the Jets group in Cleveland, offered us free tickets. Remember that?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, he was like, he said, I got you. You guys come, I got you. So, Cleveland, we coming.
Wow, Georgia 38-7,
Yeah,
not even
bro, it's
halftime yet.
this is
What a
horrible.
beatdown.
Yes, absolutely.
What a beatdown. If
And
you
what
guys
part,
have any questions, final
what,
questions, fire
what
away.
while you waiting on that? What's the away games again?
The away games, Buffalo, Miami, New England, Broncos, Raiders, Cowboys, Giants, and Browns.
Um,
So
yeah, I might
definitely
got.
Vegas.
Yeah, listen, I
I
might
might
gotta
do
go to.
Denver. I wanted to do Denver
Yo,
this year.
yeah, I bet you. Listen, I gotta go to Denver because Poppy wants to go to Denver. Like my daughter say, listen, I'm gonna tell y'all, we go out to Denver. Nah, I'm gonna tell that story. So my son, listen, we go to Denver. My daughter used to stay in Denver, right? So go see her. It was my grandson's first birthday. So we go out there, right? Yo, listen, when I tell you, man, I wanted to beat Poppy up. I was like, bro, you cannot get on the plane coming home like that, bro. We had a ball out there. Denver's a beautiful, beautiful place. So we gotta go to Denver, definitely.
Yeah, definitely might consider Denver. Definitely going to do Vegas, maybe even Dallas again. So we'll see.
Yeah, that definitely with Dallas too.
Feel you. I've been going since I was 5. I'm 28 now. Stopped going after the 2016 season. Couldn't pay the prices. Grandmother got ill. Couldn't go anywhere. Yeah, I'm kind of in the
Absolutely, man.
exact same
Yeah, man, we
situation.
understand you, bro. I
Yeah,
understand you,
I
bro.
mean,
Listen.
I've been going my entire life with my dad, and family stuff going on right now. So he hasn't been able to make it the last couple of years, and not a whole lot of friends want to spend an entire Sunday like I do. Spending 5 hours grilling and drinking, and then 3 hours being miserable watching the game. So
Yeah, pretty much. But we're gonna do a few this year though. So I mean, like I said, like we, however you want to do it, we know we're gonna be at the games, you know what I'm saying? So we'll sit by each other and make it work.
yeah, we'll have more streams, or I'll just buy individual tickets and I'll still be there. So either way, though, I'm excited for next year. Somewhat optimistic, but also just kind of feeling like what this might be more of the same for next year. If I'm being completely
I,
honest,
I,
I'm right
I,
in the
I
middle right now. I don't
I'm
know
gonna,
what we have. I
I'm
don't
gonna,
know who to or who's what.
I'm gonna see who our quarterback is. Once I know who our quarterback is, I can really start. And if Brees is coming back and how the line looks, that defense got to be. Hopefully, defense be a lot better.
You guys might have written him off, but he ain't right back though.
He ain't right back, baby.
Right back.
Gino.
Shout out to Gino. Pretty cool seeing him all emotional on the field yesterday. Shout out to Jose making the playoffs again.
Yo,
he deserves
Jose,
it.
love you, little bro. Yo, enjoy it, brother. You deserve it, man. Yo, and if you can get a chance to, man, check out my little bro, Jose Rodriguez, Seahawk Rodriguez, and he's going to give you every insight on everything in the world. So he's going to tell you from Seahawks to baseball to basketball. I can't wait to talk to him about the boxing match Saturday with Tank. You know what I'm saying? See how he felt about that. But absolutely, man. Just up.
Tyson's flying back from Miami. Maybe we'll catch him tomorrow night. But thank you guys for all joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone for joining us for the entire season. Another fun year. Unfortunately, fell short of expectations. 8 seasons now. Still not a playoff game to cover. One of these years. So thank you guys again for joining us. Really appreciate it. Have a good night. Talk to you soon. Actually, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Love you guys. Be good, man.